Good morning, everyone. In the last lecture, we had seen that what you mean by APIs, how the APIs are implemented using different standards. That was your REST, JSON RPC, XML RPC, and so. So now we are going to see another topic which is connected to it, that is real-time reactions. So when we talk about word real-time reactions, the word real-time refers to spontaneously, very fast, you can say quickly, that is called as real time. And the word reaction here refers to the response which server is giving to the client. So real time reaction means what both the client and server has to be connected with each other in real time. So the communication which is there between them will be fast, it will be quick. So the delay will be less, because most of the time what happens when you talk about traditional APIs, whenever a client is making a request to the server is not online or is not active. So there is some sort of delay between the request which is made and the response which is received. So this has some disadvantages because both are not there in real time. So another case is that at times, since they are not real time, they have to make several round trips to the server. There is also something called as three hand, or you can say three step TCP handshake, which we already know about it. When there is a client to server connection, then the sync message is being sent, the sync is acknowledged, and then the communication takes place. So this usually happens in a scenario wherein you see that both of them are not connected at real time. So first client has to check the availability of the server, whether it is active there or not, whether it is present there or not. And once it has got the message, yeah, it is present, so then they start the communication. So this was the traditional APIs where your requests are made, where your response are received, where first at the very first step you're going to check the availability of the server. So when we talk about real-time reaction, the spontaneous response is being received from the client, from the server. There will be no delay. That is why it is called as real-time reactions. So in real-time reactions, we have different methods which are there into it, which will help you to do the same. The first is polling. Second is Comet. Third is MQ telemetry transport. Fourth is extensible messaging and presence protocol. And the last is constrained application protocol. So these are the techniques you can say, or these are the methods which will help you to have a real-time communication between your client and server. So last also we have taken an example of your Crocodilo. So in Crocodilo also, whenever we talk about traditional working of the APIs, the connection time from the server is always which is there high, because when we talk about connecting to the server, it doesn't takes immediately. It usually takes some time. Even if it is connected, then there is not exact time registered when the server has started. The time which is actually more added to it, that will be your you can say just 1 or +2 or 3 seconds, wherein the actual registration takes place. Because when you talk about server, it is going to first connect, it is going to check the information, and then it is going to start. So exactly we never know the time when the server has started or when the server has been connected and it has started with its communication. When the communication is started between the client and server together, then you can say that they are connected to each other and there is a real time reaction, because in real time both of them has to be present actively. That is the requirement. But if the server is not connected, if it is still there, it is waiting for some response, in that case you cannot term it as real time reactions. So we'll start with the very first method, that is polling. Let us see what it is. So when you talk about polling, you can see there is something called as client, there is called something called as server, because this is a API's method. So you will always be having a client and server, where the client will be requesting to the server and the server will be giving the response back. So in this polling method, you can see the client is sending a message, that is connect poll and connect poll. So let us see what it is. So whenever you want your device or you want your client to respond, then you want the clients to be responded immediately from the server. So how you do that? because when we talk about events, we really don't know when event will respond, when, what will happen. And when you are making any request, it is going to be coincide with the data which is available with the client or not. So in electronic communication, when we talk about polling, it is the continuous checking of other programs or devices by one program or device to see what state they are in. Okay, so usually to see whether they are still connected or they want to communicate, we use this mechanism. So wherein all the time the client and server are going to connect with each other, they are going to keep sending message, like client is sending a message, that is server, client is sending a message, sorry, connect poll to the server to check the availability of the server, whether it is active or not. Okay, so each time it is sending the message, even there is no data to be received, there is no request made to the client, but just to check the server whether it is available or not, it is sending the messages. Okay, once that it wants to send any data, then the request will be made to the server, and the request will be fulfilled by the server to the client. But even if there is no information to be asked, there is no request to be made from client to server, still the client is sending the connect poll messages only for the reason to check that whether it is active or not, whether it is available or not. So in short, we can say polling is nothing but you are keep checking the availability of the server by sending a poll message, that is connect poll. So even if there is no data to be uh, received, still the messages are being sent to the server for connect poll and connection pole. So even in the multi-point communication where you have multiple devices attached to the same line, even in your controlling devices, when the messages are sent to each device one at a time, each of them will ask whether it has anything to communicate or not. So in polling method, if it is multi-point, it is single point. The client is always going to keep sending the messages, polling method messages to the server to check whether it is active or not. Because when we talk about real time reactions, it means what, that if I'm sending any request to my server, in milliseconds I should get the response back. And it is possible when my server is active, when my server is on all the time, then only it is possible for me to get the request back, or you can say a response in real time, in fraction of delays. So that is only possible when your server is on of the time. So to check the server is on all the time, the client is keep sending the polling message. Even if there is no data to be received, then too the polling message is being sent. Hope I am clear with this. That is your polling method. Let's start with the next method. Next is your commit. So when we talk about commit, it is also something where the client and server are going to be connected with each other in real time. So commit is something which act as a communication between your client and server. So it is a web application model wherein there will be always long held HTTP request. Now why there is a long held HTTP request? Because it allows your web servers to push the data to the browsers without the browser explicitly requesting it. That is why it is a long held request, because whenever client is asking server for any information, that information has to be pushed to the browsers, and with the help of the browsers that information reaches to the client. So here there is always a long held request. The task which used to be done by the browser, that task is done by the server themselves. Okay, and they're giving the result back. So one of the overhead which was there initially is overcome here. So that is why there is going to be a long held HTTP request, the request which are going to be received from the client, which will be take a big longer time, because there will be uploading of the data, where there will be uploading of the information, and then it is going to give the response back. So here we can talk about commit is just like you can say an umbrella which will help you to have a smooth interaction between your client and server. So all the methods which are using in the commit are usually embedded into your browsers, such like JavaScript is a programming language which is used, which is help you to have a communication between your client and server. And basically when we talk about commit, it actually differs from the original working of the web model. So here, instead of browser requesting a complete web page at a time, it will ask you for the information. So you will, whenever the client is making any request to the server, that server will take us long time to process it, because it is pushing the information to the browser so that it can reach to the client. So in the comments, we have APIs which are working. There is a JavaScript APIs and there is a Java programming API. So both of them are platform independent. So it becomes very smooth to have a communication between your client and server. So basically, you just have to understand that Comet is a web application model where it will help you to make a long held HTTP request, and the task of web servers to push the data to the browser will be done easily with the help of the Comet. So when we talk about Comet, there are different types of Comet. Let us see what are they. The very first Comet method is long polling. Okay, so the word itself, it's telling its meaning. When I talk about long polling, there will be long polling or poll messages between your client and server. So when we talk about long polling, it is unidirectional in nature. Important is that to remember. So when we talk about unidirectional, there will be communication from one end only. So let us see from where the communication is. So initially, when we talk about long polling, it starts off with the client who is making a polling request. Okay, because client is something who will always request and the server is going to respond back. So the very first step, the requesting task will be done from the client end. However, unlike your normal polling request in which the server immediately responds with an answer, even if that answer is nothing to report, the long poll waits until there is something to say. This means that then your server will be regularly send a keep alive message to the client to prevent the devices, or you can say web pages, is from concluding that the server has simply timeout. So here it actually means, you can say in short, that in traditional method, okay, this was the first polling methods, even there was nothing to send between the client and server, both were sending messages to each other, yes I am alive, yes I am alive, yes I am alive. Here it is not like that. Here the server will send a alive messages after some point of time, just to make a client informed that it is alive. Okay, so here even if there is no data, they are not going to unnecessarily keep sending messages to each other stating that connect poll, connect poll, connect poll, which was initially there in the polling method. So in this first long polling, the long word refers to what, there will be no communication continuously, but they are going, server is going to wait for long until there is any response from the client side. But server will always keep updating his availability, his status to the client to make sure that it is available. In case if it is not available, it will send a simple web page message that the server has timeout. So this will let the client know that it has been timeout. Okay, so unnecessary the sending of the connect messages is avoided here. Only when the client want to send any information or want to request for any information, in that case only the client will connect to the server and the server will respond back. But even if there is nothing to send, or there is nothing to receive, the client will not give any unnecessary messages to the server. Rather, the server here is going to send long live messages after some interval of time, just to make sure or just to inform the client that the server is up. So if there is any request to be sent, then it can be sent and it will be replied back. Okay, so that is why it is unidirectional here, because here it is a server who is keep informing about its status to the client. In initial polling method, they were both client and server who were communicating with each other, and it was telling the status to each other. But here it is just the server. That is why it is unidirectional. So here in this diagram, you can see there is a browser that is nothing but your client. There is a server. There is a long-lived request which is made from the client to the server. Once it is request, the request will be completed and it will be responded back. Okay. Then if there is any request, then the client will make the request. If there is no request, the server is going to keep pinging it about its status. Okay. So when there is any information to be sent from client to server, then only the client will communicate with the server. It is not going to unnecessarily bother the server. Rather, here the server is going to keep updating about its status, its availability to the client at intervals of time. Let's move to the next method. Next stands for MXHR. So when we talk about MXHR, it stands for multi-part XML HTTP request. So M is for multi-part, X is for XML, H is for HTTP, and R is for request. So as we all know that whenever we talk about connection with client and server, there is something called as resources which we are passed from server to client. Like for example, if client want any resources which is there in this with the server, like we have already seen before that in HTTP request with APIs, we're using RST protocol, there is 4 methods. That is your get method, put method, post method, and delete method. Similarly, here also whenever the client want any sort of resources which is there into the server side, that resources at times is available with server and at times it is not available with server, because when we talk about resources, all the resources are not saved at one server. At times some resources are saved at the different places as well. So whenever any resources are to be passed from the client to server side, when where the client makes only one HTTP request, okay, so in that case it is possible that you are going to divide your request into different parts, because the web server doesn't know that whatever the client is requesting it has available or not. If it is not available, so in that case the server will connect with the other server, get the information and give it back. So always the request which is made by client to the server will first check whether that resources is available with it or not. If it is available, then in just a single response it will give back. But if it is not available, then it has to divide that request into multiple parts. Okay, that will be a multi-part XML request, so that the responses will be given to the different servers. The resources will be taken from the other servers and it will be give back to the client. So that is your multi-part XML HTTP request, wherein all the resources which are requested by client is divided into different parts, because at times the server is not having all the resources, so it has to take the resources from other servers. So to for that it divides the request into multiple parts. However, with this method it actually simplifies the uh, interaction between the client and server, because if the information is in different information and the resources are of different part, then it becomes very easy for communication as well. So this was your multi-part XML HTTP request. We are moving to the next. Next is your HTML5 WebSockets. So whenever we talk about HTML5, it is nothing but a programming language which is used, and WebSockets is nothing but your bidirectional communication which takes place between your client and server. So initially the two methods which we had seen was your long polling, your multi-part XML request. Both were unidirectional. Why they were unidirectional? Because everything was coming from the server end. The server was one who was doing the main task. It was the one who is initiating everything. Okay, but when we talk about HTML5 WebSockets, it is bidirectional, because both of your client and server are going to be connected with each other and the communication will be bidirectional from both the ends, from client side as well as from the server side. So when we talk about HTML5, it actually acts as a bridge to link your IoT and WebSockets, because when we talk about IoT application, it actually demands reliability. It actually asks for real-time communication where the latency rate has to be 0. There has to be no delay, because when we talk about real time, everything has to be spontaneous, everything has to be quick and immediate as well. So for that, whenever you want to have instance response, in that case you should always have bidirectional communication, and with the WebSockets it is possible. And most of the real-time applications which are working on the WebSockets concept only. So for WebSocket, it is a bidirectional communication that helps you to have a communication from both the ends, and it uses the protocol that is TCP, because when we talk about TCP, it is something which is reliable protocol. It is something which is guaranteeing you the communication which will take place from client to server. So the protocol on which WebSockets are working is your TCP. Again, the messages which are there are full duplex message. So there will be end-to-end communication. There will be both the connections will be taking place at the real time. So that is your full duplex communication mechanism. So with the WebSockets, it becomes very easy for communication as both of them are connected at the real time, and it is suitable for all your IoT environments. So whenever we are making an IoT environment or whenever we want to have a real time communication in IoT devices, we always go with this combination, that is of HTML5 and WebSockets. HTML5 is nothing but the language which is encoded for communicating between your WebSockets. So whenever we talk about WebSocket, there is something called as a WebSocket library, which the server has whenever there is a communication between them. So with this WebSocket library, which has by your server, similarly there is a WebSocket library which the client holds as well. So whenever you want to have a communication, there will be set of libraries, and with those libraries will have a set of methods, and using that methods the communication will takes place. So if any information is to be received or to be sent, that can be done with the help of the library methods which are there. So a simple WebSocket interaction, you can see over your screen, there is your client, there is a server. Initially, the client to server will be a handshake. That is the first step, wherein client will check whether the server is active or not, whether it is alive or not. Once it is done, the next step will be the server will acknowledge it, yeah, I am alive, and the connection will be open where they will start communicating with each other. In the next step, you can see there is a bidirectional messages. Okay, so bidirectional messages means what? Both of them will talk with each other, interact with each other. They will send the information in real time. So the connection which is here is always open and it is always persistent. Persistent means what? It is going to be there for a longer time until one of them closes, because it is WebSocket. So when we talk about WebSocket, there is just a single socket which is used for communication. Both the client and server will be use a single socket for communication. So when we talk about socket, if any one of them closes the socket, automatically the another for another client or server will all the channel will close automatically. Okay, so in WebSocket there will be a single socket which will be connected between client and server, and the interaction will takes place. Okay, so last is your one side closes the channel. So as I've told you before, any one of the client or server, if it closes the connection, then it will be closed for the other end as well. So that is your WebSocket. So initially it will be your connection message from client to server. The server will acknowledge back. Okay, there will be communication between your client and server that will be bi-directional in nature, and if any one of them close the WebSocket, it will be closed for the other as well. So that is your interaction between your client and server using your WebSockets. So most of your IoT are using HTML5 WebSockets, wherein you are connecting all your devices like your laptops, your tablets, your mobile phone, your desktop, your air condition, everything is connected in the real time, because all the information has to be sensed. That information is need to be stored into your clouds. Okay, and then you're going to do some sort of analysis over it. So the communication has to be end to end, communication has to be in real time. So with this combination of HTML5 and web sockets, it is really possible to have it. Let's move to the next. Next topic which we are looking into is your scaling. So when we talk about scaling, in very simple words, the word scaling refers to what? You can add something easily, you can have extensibility. So similarly, here also scaling here refers to that with the different techniques which we have studied, how you can add more clients, how you can add more servers, how the communication can become more scalable with respect to your resources. So how you can do that. But whenever you are thinking of scaling with respect to your commit methods, the methods which are unidirectional, in that case, the scaling is not possible. Because in unidirectional, there is communication, there is interaction from one end only. There are server only who are interacting. So in that case, the scaling is not possible. And even if you see in the commit method where there are long held HTTP requests, in that time also you cannot have scaling, because in such a scenario where server is already taking so much time to give the request back, if you add more servers, then there will be more delay. So scaling is not a good option where there is some sort of delay. Okay, so scaling is possible where when you have a bi-directional communication, like we have already seen in the last example, your HTML5 with WebSockets. So scaling is something which is possible there, because there is a two-way communication. Both of them are communicating and interacting together at the same point of time. So in that scenario where entire working is already very fast, so you can easily add more clients, you can easily add more servers, and you can say you can completing your task in the lesser time, because all that is required is just one WebSocket. So you can have one WebSocket for multiple clients or multiple server, and you can improvise your communication or interaction. So whenever you are coming across the mechanisms which are unidirectional, you cannot go do scaling there, because they themselves are working very slow, because it is just one way communication. When there is two-way communication, in that case scaling is a good option. So we can go for scaling with respect to your HTML5 WebSockets. However, for other methods which we have already seen, we cannot go scaling with them, because that is really not possible. Because if you try to scale there, again you will have the servers which will make you wait. Again there will be some sort of delay, and which is not accepted, because when we talk about real time, in your response or your request both has to be very quick. There has to be no sort of delay there. Okay, so that is your scaling. Let's move to the next. Next is your other protocols. So we have already covered the real-time reaction methods, that was your polling, comet, along with the types of comet. So there is an other protocols. The very first protocol is MQ telemetry protocol, or you can say transport. So before we start, we have to understand one concept here, but that what do you mean by constraint devices? Because here we are going to come across with this word many times. So let us first understand what do you mean by constraint devices. So when we talk about constraint devices, it refers to that your all the small devices are limited with CPU, with memory, with power resources, and they are termed as constraint devices. So example of them will be your sensors, your actuators, all your smart objects, all the smart devices that actually forms a network that can be considered that constraint node are called as a constraint devices. So this we have already seen, like whenever we talk about any hardware platform which you are using for your IoT, they are always termed as constraint devices. The only the reason is that they have a limited CPU, they have a limited memory, the power resources are limited, so they have come up with some limitation. So that is why they are called as constraint devices. And here in this topics we are going to study that how the constraint devices are working, how the interaction is taking place between them. So let us start with the very first, that is MQ telemetry transport. So the word MQ here refers to message queuing. Okay, I'll repeat again. The word MQ here refers to message queuing. So this is basically a technology, you can say, wherein you can remotely access, or you can have your remote sources and you can have an access to them. So here you're going to use your wireless transmission mediums for communication. So it is a lightweight messaging protocol that provides resource constrained network clients, because there are some clients who are resource constrained. So resource constraints we have already covered before. That means your devices have limited CPU, your devices has limited memory, and they come up with limited power sources. So whenever you have your clients who are constrained devices or who are constrained nodes, in that case if they want to go for communication, they should opt for this transport mechanism. So basically what does this MQ telemetry transport does, it distributes your information. The telemetry is nothing but the information which is being sent or which is being communicated between the client and server just evenly among your all the clients. So all the clients will have this, all the information which is there into your server. So here there is a communication mechanism which is used, that is your publish and subscribe. So what it is we are going to see in detail once I start with explaining the diagram. So basically, when we talk about M2M, that is your uh, MQ telemetry transport, or you can say when you are talking about M2M, that is your machine to machine communication in IoT, this type of transport protocol plays a very important role, because it is, first of all, it uses a wireless networks. So the latency rate will be at times high, that's no doubt with it, but the communication will be good, the bandwidth will be good, and the unreliability of the connections can be at times resolved with this. So when we talk about MQ telemetry transport, it actually has two things here. One is your client and second is your broker. So the broker here is server. Okay, so broker is also known as server. So when the clients are connected devices like client A, client B, client C, client D, and client D, they are what connected devices, and these devices are connected with whom? The broker, that is nothing but a server. So whenever a device, or you can say a client, want to send a data to the server, or you can say a broker, it uses a method that is called as publish. Okay. Similarly, when the operation is reversed, it is called as subscribe. So in very simple words, initially when we are used to refer it as request and response, here we are going to refer this as publish and subscribe. So whenever a client is making a request to the broker or server, it is using publish instead of using request. Similarly, whenever this broker or server is giving the response back to the client, it is not using it here as response, but rather it is using the word subscribe. So publish and subscribe are the two communication patterns between your client and broker, that is nothing but your server. So whenever a request is made, it is a publish method. Whenever the request is fulfilled, that is your subscribe method. However, since it uses a wireless communication, at times there is a possibility that the connection may be lost, the connection may be broke down. So if the connection is lost from the subscribing client to the broker, then the broker will make sure that the messages are buffered into the buffering section. And once the client is online, back online, then it will send the information to the client. Similarly, if the connection is lost from the client end, okay, the broker will inform the client that the connection has been lost, and the information will be sent back to again when the client is back. Okay, so when the connection is lost from the client end, there will be no sort of communication from client and broker. Okay, because it is the client who is requesting. So one who is requesting is not available, then to whom the server will fulfill the request? So in that case, the connection will be closed. When the client is connection is lost or connection is breakdown, the client will again connect to the server or broker, and the request will be made. Okay, so this was your publish and subscribe method. So here in this example, let us see what is it working. So here we can see there are different clients, that is your client A, client B, client C, client D, client D, and client F. Okay, there is something called as broker in between, that is nothing but a server, and this broker or server have the information related to different topics. Okay, and each of the client who are connected to the server want to have an access to the topics which is there into your server or the broker. So every client, whoever want to have an access to that, will always give a communication message that is published. Okay, and accordingly the client server will respond back with the subscribe message. So it is something on the basis of FCFS, that is first come first serve. Since there are many clients, all of them are connected to the server at real time, so whoever will make the first request, that request will be fulfilled. So message queue here refers to what? In the order of the request which is received by the client, in that order the response will be given to the client. So that is your message queuing, because since we are talking about here six clients here, so there will be six messages with the server for requesting topic A, topic 2, topic 3. So depending on that, so if there are six, so there are 18 requests we can say which will be there, because each of them will have an access to each topic, because they want to have an information which will be stored from your on your clients will be a uniform information. All of them will have all the information into it, because if one client goes down, it will be back up with another client. So all the client will have all the information which is there into a server. Okay, because these are constrained devices, your clients are constrained devices. So at times if one client fails down, maybe because of any reason, it will be backed up by another client. So every client will have all the informations which will be there into your servers, and they are going to communicate with each other later on if they want to have. So here there is a publish and subscribe method, and with that publish and subscribe method, all the client and servers are going to make requests to each other. So in short, we can say there is something called as distributed architecture, where all the copies of the information will be there into every clients, and it can be easily back up if any case if your any clients fail down, because just possibility of failing a client here is more, because they are constrained devices, they are coming up with low power, they are coming up with low cpu, they are coming up with low memory. So because of any reasons, there is a possibility they may fail down. Okay, so MQ here refers to the message queuing, all the messages requests which are received by the server from the client, and according to the order of the messages, it is going to respond back to the client with the mechanism method, that is subscribe. Okay, so just remember in short that publish and subscribes are the two methods, which is just like your response, reply and response. Okay, so whenever any client is requesting something, that is a publish method here. Whenever the server is replying something, that is the subscribe method here. Okay, so let's take a quick recap whatever we have done today for the lecture. So today we have started the very first topic, that is what do you mean by real-time reactions. So when we talk about real-time reaction, it refers to that how immediate and how quickly your client and server are communicating with each other. The reaction here refers to your all your requests, and the responses has to be fast, there has to be immediate, it has to be quick, there should be no sort of delay, the latency rate has to be zero here. That is your real-time reactions. So in this real-time reactions, we have different methods which are there: polling, comet, MQ telemetry transport, extensible messaging and presence protocol, constraint application protocol. So for today's lecture, we had seen the first three methods that we'll just see now again as a recap. First is your polling method. So when we talk about polling method, here both the client and server are going to send poll messages to each other. Okay, so initially the client is something which is going to request, so every time it is going to keep sending the message connect poll, connect poll, connect poll. The reason why the client is sending this message to the server to check whether the server is available or not, because when we talk about real time reaction, the response has to be quick. So for quick response, the client is making sure that all the time the server is up and it is active. The disadvantage of this method is like, even there is no data to be sent or there is no data to be received, the client will keep sending alive messages to the server just to make sure that it is alive or not. So this is your first method, that is polling. Second is your commit. So when we talk about commit, here they are going to be long held HTTP request. So whenever a client is asking anything for the server, there will be a big long held HTTP request. Why there is a big long held request? Because here the web servers are pushing the data to the browsers without browser explicitly asking for it. So the initially what the browser used to do, that has already done at the server end, and then the information is processed back to the client. So this all which is the pushing of the data, all it is done with the help of the commit, which act as a web application model between your client and server. So all the requests which are to be actually pushed to the browser is done by the commit themselves. So that is why there is a long held HTTP request. So whatever requests are there, it takes a bit longer time to fulfill them. Okay, client and server are going to be connected to each other in real time. Only the time which is request which is made will take a small amount of more time, and the reason is that the browser task is also done by your server, so that is why it is taking a long time. So the programming languages which are used for your APIs here in Comet is your JavaScript and Java programming language. So both of them are something which is platform independent languages, so we are going to use this plugins into your web communication, and this will help you to interact with your client and server. Next, commit types. There are three types of commits. So very first is your long polling. So long polling is a polling which is made from your server to client. Okay, so it is unidirectional in nature. So why it is unidirectional? Because it is the server who is always going to keep sending its status that whether it is available or not. So initially it will start off when the client want to make any polling request. It will send a message to the server, and the server will respond back, yes, I am alive, and the communication will take place. But in polling method, which we had seen initially, in that case was that even there was nothing to send or nothing to receive, both the client used to send each other the messages. Connect poll, it used to respond yes, yes, yes. So there was a communication with both the client and server, even if there was no communication between them. So that was something not a proper usage of the network resources. So the best method here is long polling, where long polling refers to what? Whenever the client wants to communicate with the server, the client will set an initial message, and accordingly it will respond back. However, in your case, the server will keep sending the alive messages to the client to let the know client that yeah, it is available, it is up. In case if it is down, then it will send one message that server is down, so that if the client wants to make any request, just by seeing that message, it will not ask for any request. So your word long polling refers to the server is waiting long for getting the request from the client. So it is type unidirectional because it is the server who is communicating and telling its status or its availability. Next is MXHR, that is your multi-part XML HTTP request. So in simple words, it is also again a unidirectional. So whenever a client is asking for any resources to the server, the at very first place, the server is going to check whether it has that resources or not. If it has no resources with it, then it is going to make multi-part XML HTTP request, where it is going to request for the resources which the client is asking to the different servers. Because if it has the information, then it can directly send the information in one HTTP response. But in case if it doesn't has, then it has to communicate with different web servers and get the information or get the resources. So that is why whenever any request is made from client to server, it will be always of type multi-part, because we really don't know whether the server has all the information which client is asking for. So there will be different parts of the request, and this part of the request will be given to different servers in case if they have that information, and then it will be loaded to our server, and then from the server it will be given back to the client. So the type of the request of responses, sorry, the type of the request of the resources which is made from the client to server will be of type multi-part, because it is not sure that we are not sure that whether the server has all the requests or not. So for that, the request which is there, it is always of type multi-part. Let's move to the next, that is your HTML5 WebSockets. So when we talk about HTML5 WebSockets, it refers to your communication between your client and server with the help of the WebSockets. So WebSocket is something which is a bidirectional in nature, wherein it allows you to have a real-time communication with both the clients communicating together, that with that is a bidirectional. So here whenever you are using a WebSocket, there will be a single WebSocket which will be used between your client and server, and using that WebSocket they are going to communicate with each other. So the programming interface or the communication which will be used in the with the WebSockets used with the combination of HTML5 programming language. So here you with the HTML5, you are going to connect your IoT devices and you're going to connect your WebSockets, and together there is going to be have a bidirectional communication. So initially when we talk about WebSockets, the client is first going to make a request to check whether the server is available or not. Once the server is available, the server will respond back, that is your handshake, and the connection will be open. There will be bidirectional communication of the messages which will be open and will be persistent in nature. Until unless anyone close the WebSocket, then the another side will also be closed, because it is just one WebSocket. So if any of them closes the socket, automatically the other side will be also closed. So that is your connection closed, which is the last step. Next was your scaling. So when we talk about scaling, it refers to that how it is easy for you to add resources, how you're easy to add your servers and clients to your current scenarios. So whenever we talk about unidirectional approaches or unidirectional methods, we cannot go with that option because that is not allowable, because it is one-sided communication. It is not two-sided communication. So in one-sided communication, if you are adding more resources, that will add more delay. So you cannot go with that option. So in that case, you have to go with the communication mechanism which are bidirectional, like we have seen HTML5 WebSockets. So scaling is easily possible there, where you can add more clients, you can add more, you can say servers, and just to communicate, you need to add one WebSocket. So it will actually, mostly in IoT, whenever you want to have a real-time communication, we use WebSockets only, because that is something a very good option, and most importantly, it works on TCP/IP protocol, so that guarantees you with all the packets, with all the information, and along with the sequence number. Next is MQ telemetry transport. So word MQ here refers to your message queuing. So when we talk about this category of protocols, they are always dealing with constrained devices. Constrained devices are the one, those who have limited CPU, they have a limited memory, they have limited power resources. So here we are going to deal with the devices which are having some sort of limitations with them. And usually they are the clients who are coming up with this limitation. So when you are having this limitation, how the communication will takes place between this uh, limited or constrained devices? The very first is MQ telemetry transport. So here it works on the wireless communication. There will be wireless transmission of data from your remote sources. It is a lightweighted messaging protocol which actually provides resource constrained networks, or you can say clients, to evenly distribute their information. So whatever information which is there will be evenly distributed among the clients. The communication pattern which is used here is publish and subscribe, where publish refers to request and the subscribe request to response here. Since it uses wireless communication, so there is a possibility that there will be unreliable connections, there will be some type of delays, there is a possibility. But still, we are connecting with the server, so the server will have all the information. So at any point of time, you want to have an access to the information, you can have it with the help of the server or broker. So the server or broker is connected with the different clients, and each of the clients want to have access to any data. They are going to communicate with the broker or server with the mechanism that is published, and similarly the server will respond back with the subscribe method. So all the clients which are connected with the server will make sure that they are asking with all the requests we want, and the request will be on the basis of the topics which are stored into your server. So in case there is a possibility, since we are using a wireless communication, so there is a possibility that there will be disconnection from the client end, there will be disconnection from the server end as well. So when there is a disconnection from the server end, the server will make sure that whatever client has asked for, that will be stored into the buffer. Okay, and once it is online, it will push the data to the client. Similarly, if the client goes down, if it is disconnected, in that case the server will be disconnected, and it will wait for the client to connect back again, and then it will give back the responses, because at the end it is the client who wants the data. So if they are themselves are not connected, so we cannot give them data. We have to wait for their next request, and accordingly we'll give them the information they have requested for. So when we talk about MQ, message queuing here refers to there will be different clients, and there will be different requests. Message request will be given, and according to that message request, the subscribe method will give the response to the client. So there will be n number of message requests. So here in this example, we have 6 clients. So if each of the 6 client is asking for all the topics, so we can say there can be 18 requests, just an example. Okay, so message queuing works on first come first basis. So who has asked for or requested for any topic, they will be uh, allotted first, and then in the order of the message request which is received from the client, it is going to be fulfilled in that order. Okay, so that's it for the day. For the next lecture, we'll see the next 2 methods which are there. Okay, thank you everyone.